I always recommend that people buy lights which run off of lithium batteries. They are simply superior to alkalines or nickel metal hydrides. However, not everyone is willing to make the switch to these less common and much more expensive cells, and so I am always asked which AA or AAA flashlight I recommend. The answer to that question is usually always the same: the Thrunite Archer 2A V3. The Thrunite Archer 2A is a light that has been around for a while now, and is now on its third version. It is a very straightforward AA flashlight that takes two primary cells in series and has two switches. It has a long and thin form factor, being effectively just an extension of the Archer 1A, and as such is essentially the same as that light, but with higher outputs and better run times due to the second cell. This is a light that I have always liked, and I was planning on doing a review for it, eventually. As luck would have it, Thrunite reached out to me and asked me if I'd be willing to review the light, as they claimed it is one of their best-selling products. So yes, Thrunite did send me this light, but as usual it won't affect my review of it, and it's certainly not the first Archer that I've used. The light is 15.5 centimeters long and 2.2 centimeters wide. It weighs 48 grams without the batteries installed. As usual, it is built of aircraft-grade aluminum with a Type 3 hard anodizing. It has the normal specifications with an IPX8 rating and 1 meter drop rating. The main body tube is split into two sections, one knurled and the other smooth. The knurling is appropriately deep without being too aggressive, but I'm not really sure why they didn't knurl the entire tube. This may be some sort of artifact of it being an elongated Archer 1A, but it seems like a strange design choice to me. Still, it feels great in the hand, and the light has plenty of useful grip. Another design feature that makes very little sense, however, are the grooves cut into the body to allow for the clip to be attached. There is a groove cut into the tube right below the head, and one below the knurled section, while the rest of the tube is smaller in diameter and also allows for the clip to be attached wherever the user desires. The clip was apparently intended to be attached to the center position, and this is how it comes out of the box. I think everyone agrees though that this is kind of stupid, and the clip is basically useless here. Personally, I can't think of any reason to attach it here, as it is way more functional at either the top or bottom of the light. At least they give you options, I guess. Moving on, the light has square cut and fully anodized threads, which are cleanly cut and smooth to operate. These are of course accompanied by nitrile O-rings. The interior of the battery tube is fully anodized as well. The tail cap has a firm, thick gold-plated spring, while the head has a flat contact that is unfortunately not gold-plated. The light has electrical reverse polarity protection. The rear of the light has the usual clicky switch, which is of good quality. The two fins on either side allow for both tail standing and lanyard attachment. Thrunite has come closer here to getting it to line up with the head than they usually do, but it's still not perfect. The pill lacks heatsink grooves and has a faceted ring with the side switch, which has a stainless steel cover and surrounding ring. This is a digital mode button, which is nice and clicky. The head of the light has an integrated aluminum bezel, which is crenulated but isn't too sharp. Beneath this, and sealed with another O-ring, is the lens, which is the usual hardened mineral crystal glass. It has a very nice dual-sided anti-reflective coating. The reflector is aluminum and has a nice high-quality texturing, and surrounds a Cree XPL High V6 LED. The emitter is not perfectly centered, but on the plus side, the optical assembly here is actually very clean, which is good to see. This light uses an interface which should be very familiar to Thrunite fans at this point, with two separate buttons, the rear tail switch being used to turn the light on and off, and the side switch being used to cycle through the modes of the light. While the light is on, pressing the side button cycles through Firefly, Low, Medium, and High, for which the light has mode memory. While on, pressing and holding for about 1 second activates strobe mode, and pressing again deactivates it. I don't have much to say here. The interface is simple and intuitive, and works very well. I really like this UI, but as I've said before, it lacks some of the more useful features of more advanced lights, such as instant access to the minimum and maximum modes. When I'm done using the light, I always just set it back down to Firefly before turning it off, which works quite well for me. Overall, it's well designed and executed, and I do think that the target market for this light will probably be perfectly happy with the interface. The performance specs here are very good for a flashlight running off of 2 AA batteries. Thrunite claims a maximum of 500 lumens, which is accurate and is definitely a lot of light. However, users should be aware that the higher output mode is direct drive, which means that output will drop as battery level declines. Lights running off of alkalines tend to be much less consistent in my experience, and performance will vary with the quality of the batteries being used. Unfortunately, the head of this light is very small and it lacks a dedicated heatsink. and as a result, there is really nowhere for the heat to go. The good news is that this driver is not pushing the emitter too hard, and as a result, the LED itself won't generate much heat. In use, it never really gets more than just warm, and doesn't reach the point where it becomes unbearable to hold. However, I will admit that I haven't used it on high for longer than about 5 minutes, because I suck as a reviewer and am not very thorough. Just be aware that the manual states that it should not be run for longer than 10 minutes. Run times across the board are also very good. The low and medium modes are probably the most useful here, as they provide a useful amount of light and last a reasonable amount of time. Low will output 17 lumens for a solid 4 days, while medium puts out 75 lumens for about 11 hours. High is certainly quite high, being 500 lumens, but only runs for about an hour and a half, and won't output its maximum for the whole runtime. The truth is, this is really about as good as it will get for a flashlight using 2 AA's, so I can't really complain here. On a final note, as I stated before, the light's performance will be heavily affected by the batteries used. Alkalines will provide slightly better performance than nickel metal hydride, but the rechargeable nature of nickel metal hydride and lithium iron phosphate cells will be far cheaper in the long run. So if you have the option, I definitely recommend running with these cells instead. The quality of the beam itself is very good. The light has a fairly wide spill and a somewhat soft hotspot. The beam is clean and has no visible artifacts. Tint shift is very minor, with the hotspot being slightly warmer than the spill. This is the neutral white version of the light, and it just so happens that I was able to get a hold of a second light for this video. Between the two neutral white lights, there is a slight amount of variation, with one being just a tiny bit cooler in tint than the other. This is, however, a very minor difference, and is unnoticeable in real life. The light has a maximum rated intensity of 2,912 candela, with a beam distance of 108 meters. Personally, I wish that the beam was slightly wider, but as it is, it's very useful, and provides a good amount of reach. I'd say this is great overall as a general purpose beam. At the end of the day, we all know that I'm going to say this flashlight is amazing because Thrunite is paying me to say that. Just kidding, they're not. Honestly though, I think this is an excellent flashlight. Performance is good, the light quality is great, and the build quality is impressive. The only real issue is the strange decision to put the clip at the top of the light. For the price, this is a really fantastic light, and it's one I consistently recommend. I know many people want a quality light, but are reluctant to deal with lithium ions and don't want to spend too much. For them, this is a great option. It's only $30 and runs off alkalines. I also think this is a nice backup light to own, as it's always good to have something capable of running off of alkalines, because they're so cheap and widely available. So overall, if you're interested in the Archer 2A, I'd say it's worth purchasing. Alright, well, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you would like this flashlight, let me know in the comments below. I won't be doing a giveaway, but comments tell YouTube that my video is good. If you have any suggestions for me, please put them down in the comments below, and I will get to them. Anyways, thanks for watching, and like and subscribe and all that stuff.